Some really sad news this evening as WWE Hall of Famer Sika Anoa'i, one half of the legendary Wild Samoans, has sadly passed away at the age of 79 years old. Of course, Sika, a legendary member, as I mentioned, of the Wild Samoans and a member of the Anoa'i family. Instrumental and, of course, heavily featured currently on WWE television, he being a hallmark of it. Now, Hall of Famer Sika Anoa'i peacefully passed away on June 25 at the age of 79. Sika was one half of the Wild Samoans and the father of former undisputed WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns. Now, his nephew, Jairus Anoa'i, first informed fans of the news, writing on Instagram, quote, "It is with profound sadness that I share the news of the passing of former Hall of Famer Sika Anoa'i. He passed away peacefully on June 25th. Sika was a celebrated figure whose contributions and legacy have left an indelible mark. His memory will live on through his achievements and the many lives he touched. He was many things: a hard-working father, a caring brother, a supportive uncle, and a proud grandfather. He was a cherished friend to many, a loving family member whose warmth and kindness knew no bounds, and an inspiration to countless individuals. His legacy will continue to inspire and uplift future generations, reminding us of the impact one person's life can have on so many. Rest in love, Uncle Sika." Now, Sika began his career in 1973, wrestling for various territories before joining WWE, then WWF, in 1980. He won the WWE World Tag Team Championships on 2 occasions during his first run with the company, teaming alongside Arthur as the Wild Samoans. He had multiple stints in WWE, last competing for the company in 1988. The Wild Samoans won the WWE World Tag Team Championships on 3 occasions during their overall time with the company. They were inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame back in the class of 2007. Sika appeared at the WWE Hell in a Cell event in 2020 alongside his son Roman Reigns after Reigns' victory in an I Quit Hell in a Cell match against Jey Uso. It was during this moment that Sika and Arthur had crowned Roman Reigns as officially the tribal chief. Of course, we send our condolences to the family, friends, and fans of Sika. As I mentioned, a hugely influential figure in a hugely influential family. Of course, his son was, I mentioned, Roman Reigns, as well as Rosie, the former WWE superstar who also sadly passed away several years ago. Now, I mentioned his career spanned several years. He first debuted in the World Wrestling Federation back in 1980. The Wild Samoans debuted in the World Wrestling Federation with Captain Lou Albano as their manager, quickly establishing themselves as a force in the tag team division through a series of divisive and decisive victories. Now, in addition to competing in the tag division, the brothers also wrestled as singles, with Anoa'i unsuccessfully challenging Bob Backlund for the WWE Championship back in 1980, so it actually did progress quite high up the card. Now, on April 12, 1980, the Wild Samoans defeated Ivan Putski and Tito Santana to win the WWF World Tag Team Championships. Now, their reign lasted until August of that year when they lost to Backlund and Pedro Morales at Showdown at Shea Stadium. As Backlund was then WWF champion, he and Morales were forced to vacate the championships, and the Wild Samoans regained the championships on September 9 in 1980 on an episode of WWF Championship Wrestling, defeating Tony Garea and Rene Goulet in the finals of a tournament. This reign lasted until November when they lost to Garea and Rick Martel. Then the Wild Samoans left the WWF in December of 1980. Now, from then they went around to a few different territories at the time. New Japan Pro Wrestling from sort of January to February of 1981. They did a couple of tours there. They faced Antonio Inoki in several matches. The Wild Samoans actually made a second tour of Japan in November and December of 1981, competing in the Madison Square Garden Tag League. They also were in Mid-South Wrestling from around 1981 to 1982. They were managed by Ernie Ladd before betraying him to align themselves with Skandor Akbar. The Wild Samoans held the Mid-South Tag Team Championships on 3 occasions between in June of 1981 and May of 1982. They also feuded with the Junkyard Dog and his partners, but they left the promotion in May of 82. They then had stints around this time actually in Georgia Championship Wrestling. In August of 1982, they defeated the Fabulous Fabulous Freebirds to win the NWA National Tag Team Championships. They held the championship for several months, vacating it in December of 1982 upon leaving the promotion in order to return back to the World Wrestling Federation. Now, this return to the WWF lasted about 2 years. The Wild Samoans returned to the WWF in January of 1983, once again adopting Lou Albano as their manager. They won the WWF World Tag Team Championships for a third and final time in this run on March 8 in 1983, defeating Chief Jay Strongbow and Jules Strongbow. During their reign, Anoa'i sustained an injury, with his nephew, Samu, substituting in for him for several title defenses. So Samu actually did wrestle a couple of times there as a replacement for Anoa'i. The Wild Samoans' reign ended on November 15, 1983, when they lost to Soul Patrol, that being Rocky Johnson, yes, Soul Man Rocky Johnson, the father of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and Tony Atlas, after Albano accidentally hit Afa with a chair. Now, after splitting from Albano, the Wild Samoans challenged Soul Patrol on several occasions, but were unable to regain the Tag Team Championships. In April of 1984, Anoa'i unsuccessfully challenged Hulk Hogan for the WWF Championship in one of Hogan's earliest title defenses. So actually, that's 2 World Championship opportunities there against Bob Backlund and Hulk Hogan, 2 of the longest reigning World Wrestling Federation champions in company history. In mid-1984, the Wild Samoans turned face and began a lengthy feud with the North-South connection, that being Adrian Adonis and Dick Murdoch. They left the WWF once more in January of 1985. Now, between this time, they did appear for multiple different promotions in 85 and 86, among them the likes of the AWA, Jim Crockett Promotions, and International Championship Wrestling. They then made a second return to the WWF, with Afa now semi-retired. Anoa'i returned to WWF in August of 1986 as a singles wrestler managed by The Wizard. He spent several weeks undefeated before losing to Pedro Morales in November of 1986. In March of 87, Anoa'i formed a tag team with Kamala, aligning himself with Kamala's manager, Mr. Fuji, and handler, Kim Chi. The duo wrestled a series of matches against the Can-Am Connection and took part in several tournaments. The team, though, was dissolved in August of 1987 when Kamala left the WWF. In September of 87, Anoa'i competed in the King of the Ring tournament, but he lost in the first round to S.D. Jones. On October 3rd, 1987, Saturday Night's Main Event 12, recorded in September of that year, Anoa'i unsuccessfully challenged WWF champion Hulk Hogan in the main event, once again facing off in a singles match against the top champion. He also wrestled a series of matches against Bam Bam Bigelow and then against Jake the Snake Roberts as well. After leaving WWF, he left WWF. He last competed actually in a Battle Royal at WrestleMania 4. He left WWE once more following that bout. He then did a couple of singles matches here and there, but largely went into retirement. Now, following his retirement, he did remain active in wrestling. He trained wrestlers at the Wild Samoans Training Center, a professional wrestling school that was based out in Florida, and again, taught several big name stars coming out of the Wild Samoan school. As I mentioned, his last big appearance on WWE television came at Hell in a Cell back in 2020 to celebrate his son Roman Reigns' victory. Of course, he was the Universal Champion at the time after defeating another member of the Anoa'i family, that being Jey Uso. Now, as I mentioned, it's a huge career, certainly a very, very lengthy family. It's a family that is referenced every single week now on WWE television as part of the Bloodline storyline that is continued to grip people over the course of the last 4 years and will continue to do so. And obviously it's a huge loss to professional wrestling, an incredible career, and certainly an incredible family, and one that will be never replicated and often certainly attempted to be duplicated, but never possible. So Sika Anoa'i, rest in peace. You will be missed.